Real news. True, honest, and not fake news. We're going to start with the hashtag released a memo, which has been going trending all week. Basically, there was this memo that's showing surveillance powers being abused by the federal government, and they're not releasing the memo, or at least not yet, but they probably will. Some have seen it and said it's worse than Watergate. I personally think that's an exaggeration. It might be a big nothing, or it might be something worthwhile, but what do you guys think?
I don't know. There's several people that have come out and said stuff about it that not Stephen Miller, who's the congressman?
Johnson.
No. I don't know. Why can I not think of his name now?
Alex Jones.
Is it Steve King? Is Steve King a congressman?
Maybe. Yeah, he is, from New York.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, some
man.
There was a member of Congress that came out and said something, and I'm totally blanking on the name right now. I'm sure it'll come to me in a second. That said that memo contains that the American people need to see the contents of that memo. It wasn't Steve, or maybe it was Stephen Miller. He's not a congressman, but whatever.
No.
Doesn't matter. Somebody that has a lot of clout and is in a position where they can't really get away with saying something like that without it being at least reasonably substantiated,
right.
Did say that this is quite a weighty document with long and heavy implications for the future relationship of the president and the FBI. So I understand anyway. So I do think it's going to turn out to be something whenever we get access to it, if we get access to it.
Yeah, I think we will, because they were talking about releasing it, and they're saying it's going to happen in a few days, but that's kind of died out. But then again, it's the weekend, so I don't know. Any other thoughts here?
I thought it wasn't supposed to release till March.
Really, March?
I saw somewhere that the scheduled time was March something, but I could be wrong.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I don't know how big of a thing it'll be, but I definitely think it's going to be some kind of.
There's going to be something in there.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, my opinion's on. You done?
Yes.
He's really quick with his talking. He's straight to the point.
All right. So I was listening to my favorite info warrior, Alex Jones, and he said,
yes.
Of course, it was going to be a bombshell. And I heard from someone that. Who is it? People from like Fusion GPS. They were like saying people have already died over the stuff in there. Was that this? That might just be Alex being Alex. But I heard I'm pretty sure this is going to be like legit some stuff in there, or else they won't be hiding it so long. They go and release it oh okay, we'll show you this if this was a big nothing burger.
Mm-hmm.
But from what it sounds like, it's not going to be like a No Man's Sky. This is going to be like legit. It's going to be like Pac-Man going out. This is going to be just like fed through the nation. People are going to be flipping out. People are going to be indicted if we get like a attorney general that actually knows how to sue people.
Yeah.
How to do his job. Because, he's been really, he's been really upsetting me. He needs to go, like Hillary needs to be locked up. Other people need to be indicted. He just stopped like that whole Russiagate thing. Because, that's a big waste of money. If it was like even in the Fire and the Fury, they were complaining.
Fire the furry.
They said the Russian thing was nothing, but they let go on.
Yeah.
They let the little charade go on, and it's just wasting our money. But something that we should be doing right now is releasing that, indicting everyone who was found to be doing illicit, wrong things. I think it's going to be huge. This is going to be like, maybe it's going to shake the nation up.
Swamp.
Yeah, drain the swamp.
Where's that? The swamp is.
It's still
swamp
there.
Is not being drained.
Yeah, I mean, Trump did some early stuff, but he hasn't done much in the name of drain the swamp recently, which has disappointed me. But that's going to be a very long process that I think he needs to keep going.
Of course.
Well, he keeps getting criticized. Oh, you're firing everybody. Oh, he's a chaos president. Well, shoot, I mean, I kind of liked when he did fire things.
Can I get chaos president back?
Yeah, I like that. The Keck president.
Right. Yes. He's a descendant of Keck, by the way. If you didn't know.
Nobody listening to this has any idea who Keck is.
Yeah, if you don't know what Keck is, Google it.
Nobody that has any idea who Keck is ever listens to FM radio.
Well, I'd rather be Keck than Cuck.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, are we going to talk about this?
Yes, we are.
Speaking of
we
Cuck.
are. That's a great segue, because I was running out of steam on this topic. CNN, the most trusted name in news, as they say, has released an article that you first told me about that I didn't even realize was from them, because I didn't think it could be. But then again, I should have known their audience, because the headline of an article from CNN, the most trusted name in news, and I read this quote for quote, "Cuckolding can be a positive for some couples, study says."
Okay, so just quick to appreciate exactly what cuckolding is. That is when typically the man in the relationship, enjoy watching your spouse or partner engage in intercourse with somebody who is not you. So you just like the person that you have vowed monogamy and just eternal love and affection and all kinds of things, like for example, making babies with. You would prefer to see them engage sexually with another man other than you. So this is something that CNN thinks is healthy.
It's healthy for relationships. That's what the article literally said. It's positive.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Emphasis on pause.
It's pause. All right, that's
well,
what it is.
because the thing is, that traditionally this isn't just like you have it watching your wife have sex with any man. This is usually there's a what's the politically correct term? A person of color is engaged with your wife.
Yes,
that's the actual like meme.
Yeah. I didn't want to go there, but yeah, and so you could draw a parallel perhaps on like sort of a. I think Europe is the better example, and but
they're getting
on
cucked.
sort of on a societal level, it seems to be that the men of Europe are sort of, they seem to enjoy watching the things over which they were supposed to protect, defend, and love be taken over and engaged with by hordes of
migrants,
swarthy folk. Shall we say?
Swarthy.
Matey.
That just sounds very piratey.
It's like
you're using big words we don't know.
Right.
We're not big
people
brain.
from Africa. There are lots of people from Africa going to Europe and not engaging in consensual sex with European women, and leeching off of benefits and lots of other things that should be prevented by the men of Europe. But so it just seems to be very metaphorical that there's a lot of people in this world that would like cuckoldry on both a individual level and a societal level, sort of a national level, if you will, to ensue. It seems to be that that makes. I don't know why people are confused or shocked by this article. That makes perfect sense as to what CNN would want, the Western nations of this world to do, is to completely abdicate their responsibilities to everything that they are supposed to have loved and just watch it get, taken by people who have no right to it.
So they're cuck nationalists?
Yes. I wouldn't call them national, but whatever. Yeah. Basically, they're national cuckolds. How about that?
Yeah,
Well, this isn't the first time that I've seen fake news media release articles advocating.
These
for,
are very fake news. This is very fake news.
Advocating for cuckoldry. There was another one. It was called the cuckoldry, the intellectuals fetish, and that's actually the name of the article. You can go and look it up. But this has been going on for years under the covers too.
Under the covers.
But
There's more than one thing happening under the covers.
Literally, this has been going on for a while, and I kind of wonder where they got their sample size from, because it might be like 50%. That's probably done through a college situation, and seeing that the majority of people at colleges tend to be of the liberal persuasion, they might enjoy that, but I can't see very many red-blooded conservative men being engaged, aroused by watching their wife engage in intercourse with another man. Usually that's a good way to get shot, in the South. That's
hopefully anywhere where people have dignity, that's a good way to get shot.
Well, yeah, but now it's become that's like the most boring fetish. That's like the most boring fetish too.
How is that a boring fetish?
Well, shoot, you're not doing anything. You're just watching your wife do things with other people. That's it's a thinking man's fetish because you have time to go and think.
What?
Oh,
well. Yeah.
A thinking man's fetish?
That's what they call it.
Yeah.
I don't think that is accurate at all. I really don't think.
Oh, are we not live?
Uh-oh.
Are we on air?
Uh-oh. That's not good. Uh-oh.
Oh, really? Would you like to talk about it with us on air?
Oh, okay. But I feel like there are plenty of weird... Okay, whatever. Regardless, I think that is perfectly fitting with...
I'll see you later.
What?
What was that
I am
about?
so confused.
Did we have a caller?
We had our first caller.
Oh.
He said disagreed a lot with what the host said.
Was that me or you?
I assume it was me.
You're the host.
We actually have people listening. I'm surprised.
We do have listeners. So I told him he can call in. Whoever was listening, I'd love to have you call in because I think it'd be great to have a live debate about it. No, I did not put it out on air. But yeah, we had a caller, and hopefully he can call in. I told him.
Callers. You may have noticed, listener.
Yeah, we had this caller, but anyway,
that doesn't count.
Well, my whole thing.
It does.
Well, see,
but okay. Do you have comment on that? Sorry.
Yeah, just my whole thing with this, like not even like taking this into the, like personifying this as like Europe or anything. I just don't see why the media is pushing this. This is just, this is like just weird.
Okay.
Like I don't really think this is a good thing to be promoting. Like,
yeah,
so it's infidelity.
Hold on. This is what. I got a better understanding of it. I don't know if it's a better understanding, but I went to the March for Life last Friday, and on the way back, I was talking to a priest, and the priest was talking about like completely separate from this, actually. Receiving communion, like whether you should receive it in the hand or on the tongue, but what he started talking about, what he expanded onto, was the forces that are in the church and everywhere in this world that we live in. The people that he called liberals, but I actually think that's an insult to the word. That hate tradition and the sanctity and sort of purity of tradition, I guess is the best word for it, for the sake of it. They want to tear down institutions and traditions and continual practices and things like marriage, for example, because they exist. For whatever reason, their brain chemistry, the way they're wired, they hate the existence of tradition and things like monogamy and marriage and institutions which exist to hold people to a higher standard and allow them to be productive. They hate their existence for the sake of that existence. And that's a good example.
And they want to destroy it.
That's the kind of people that work at CNN. They hate the existence of marriage simply because it exists. It has nothing to do with actually, they rationalize all kinds of reasons. They say it's oppressive, or they say it's unhealthy, whatever. They come up with 17 reasons to Sunday why you shouldn't go to church, and all of it is really just because they hate the fact that healthy things exist. They are messed up in the head, and they can't stand people being, monogamous and participating in the institutions like marriage.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. The one thing I wanted to say before we had our little interruption there was
by the way, what did he disagree with? Was it the cuckoldry, or maybe did he? Did we get a cuckold calling in, defending the
how can you really defend it? Like, even the left, I think, would have problems because it's literally turning women into objects, or it's turning it's
objectifying women.
Well, it's objectifying.
Isn't that what they're against?
It's objectifying black men.
Well,
it absolutely is, because that's where they're using it. It's like it's going watching, and the man's supposed to be angry that his wife is having the affair, and he's supposed to get turned on by this anger. That's
he's gonna be the Hulk.
Yes,
he's gonna blur.
And that's why a lot of people they usually go for that, because it's usually these like liberal, white people. I really can't see any. It's only ever white people I hear about, like, who are into cuckoldry. Like, at least being the cuck, like the bull. They usually that's a term. That's an actual term, and they have.
It is.
How do you know this?
Well, like I know I've been unfortunate enough to learn these things. No, but no, they're legitimate terms, and they have this like chastity belts that men will wear.
What?
Chastity belt?
Yeah, they have
What does that
chassis,
mean?
and they'll prep the bull.
This is weird.
The
I
prep
don't like
the
this
bull.
anymore. Can we talk about something else?
I want to wrap a few things up because I didn't get a chance to say this. In the article, they cite that 58% of men and 33% of women have fantasized about cucking. Now, have they actually done it? I don't know. But that is to give you a sense of people that have.
And that means it's
thought about
healthy.
it. Yeah,
Because
it's
if
healthy.
You think about it. If
it
you
is.
think about doing
That's
it,
what CNN
it's
says.
healthy.
Yeah. CNN tells me it's healthy. It must be because this one study says. The last part that was interesting is, well, there's straight people cucking, but there's also gay men cucking. You didn't think about this one, I bet. It says for gay men, cuckolding isn't quite as taboo because the norm of a lifelong monogamy isn't so strong in the LGBT community. However, can still be arousing for a number of other reasons. I'd like to know those other reasons.
No, I don't want to.
No,
I don't want to know
to.
what crazy.
I'm curious.
Crazy rationalizations. This
It's hilarious.
Sick doctor. In air quotes.
I want to know
has
how this
come up with.
I want to know how many people they sampled. I want to know where they sampled them from.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a fake news study.
Oh yeah.
There's no way
another
this
point
is legit.
That somebody else brought up to me regarding this study into how many people hear the question? Have you ever fantasized about your partner? Sleeping with or watching your partner have intercourse with somebody who is not
question?
you. Well, how many people just hang up to that question? Where do they get a sample of people that can reliably answer that without either laughing or just punching the other person?
Maybe they called 10 people and one person answered and that was their answer.
Or
that was their 58% right there.
Well, no, I think this whole thing is caused by a degeneration society caused by pornography. Because when you're watching, when you're watching it, you're watching someone else. Make relations with another, a woman.
First of all, I don't believe it is as popular as it is, but I think that what you've said is probably, I'm getting waved at. Is probably the true to an extent. Where it exists.
Might be going in the other room.
Anyway, keep going.
Okay.
Where it exists, I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that, as you're right, pornography is becoming so prevalent in our culture. Even where it's not outright shown in movies. That look at what was considered ratings back in the 50s compared to now. The amount of skin and sort of illusions that are made in media is off the charts compared to what it used to be.
That's true.
People are just, and it's because it's stimulating. We're animals, that have biological needs, and we have a brain that tries to get us to fulfill those biological needs through all kinds of ways that are completely subconscious and subrational, and so we are programmed to find those kinds of things attractive, and so it's cheating. I think it's sick and it's cheap ways to attract people, but you've ever heard the term in advertising, sex sells.
Yeah,
there's a reason.
Very
because,
true.
It's not just advertising, it's media, it's all kinds of stuff.
Everything.
So that's the one of the reasons why it gets so popular if it's unrestrained, and which is actually something that I've come around to recently. I think that there ought to be a lot more social stigma, if not legal stigma, against the pervasion whatever the distribution and consumption of pornography in our society as not only like straight up hardcore pornography on internet, whatever, fun time, but also in media and not just movies and stuff, but music and Miley Cyrus and the twerking teddy bear or whatever.
Oh, that's disturbing.
Stuff like that. That is that is everywhere in our media, and it doesn't need to be, and it's
normalizing degeneracy.
All it's doing is it is like cocaine. It just stimulates parts of your brain that you haven't actually deserved the stimulation of. You know what I'm saying? It's an artificial stimulation.
I've never done cocaine.
Like you didn't.
Oh yeah.
And that's. So people get used to sort of getting that dopamine release.
They get desensitized.
That visual, they get desensitized. Well, yeah, they get desensitized to it, and that causes other problems. But they're, to go back to what you were saying about the, sort of being responsible for the pervasiveness of cuckoldry in our society, which I once again, I don't believe it's nearly as popular as that article is making it out to be. No. I think they were trying to just appeal to popularity to get more people.
They're appealing
to try
to their
it.
listeners and viewers.
Maybe the people that are tuning into CNN regularly, unironically,
wouldn't surprise
are into that. But anyway,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, maybe that's where they got the 58% from. They were just like people who responded to CNN polls.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so if you get used to the only interaction with that kind of imagery coming through TV and or on the internet, or your music videos, or even just in music references, whatever, then yeah, maybe your brain gets, I'm not a psychologist, but your brain gets sort of rewired to think that is the normal way for you to satisfy those biological urges, is to watch it instead of participate in it. Like we naturally have the urge to participate in it, but if it's only ever fulfilled by watching it, then maybe we get reprogrammed to seek out fulfillment in that manner. So that's
a problem too. And another thing is, it's like way too easy these days.
Oh my gosh.
I think our call is back.
We got another caller.
Another problem too. I think
you guys keep going.
I think it's like way too easy these days to engage with members of the opposite sex in intercourse. Because like you have it's not even hard anymore. Like when you talk to Willard Preacher, he's telling you, oh, you can just go to it's easier to have OJ than to it's more OJ. Like it's easier to go and get relations with a woman than it is to eat OJ at Penn State. It's really not that far away. And like he says that. I've heard him. He does big.
You can't get good orange juice anywhere out in Penn State. That's a real problem.
Well, no, but seriously, like it's so easy. They have so many apps on the App Store where it's like Tinder. If you're of the homosexual persuasion, Grindr. Yeah. You go into Craig. Like, have you ever seen Craigslist? Like the classifieds on there, how like just disgusting those are.
I can imagine.
Like no, it's there's people asking to get pregnant. And there's people asking to get AIDS, HIV. If you ever, I've seen it before, and I've showed.
There's this documentary. Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna give you the floor to give us any of the counter arguments we have, and obviously there's gonna be delays, so we'll have to compensate for that, and we'll give our counter arguments back. So it's gonna be pretty much A/B debate. Okay. So please tell us what you had to what your disagreements with us are.
Well, okay. So first of all, I tuned in when you guys were talking about basically the degeneracy of cuckoldry and how it makes its way into the culture. I just wanted to know what standards we're going by on this, because really our culture is degenerate as is, and the prescriptions that you guys are putting out seem to me to be as sad and as gross as cuckoldry and beyond. The classic suburban version of love and romance where you go out, buy a house, a McMansion in the middle of America, and learn to hate your wife and kids. I mean, what are these things compared to, adults having good fun, having a little bit of fun on the side? Who's to say that that's bad?
Because you're cheating. I would say because you're cheating on your wife almost. You're letting her cheat on you. I mean, isn't that pretty immoral? I'm gonna let my other few here speak.
So quick response to the whole meme of learning to hate your suburban life and housewife. I personally, I don't buy that. I think that is probably a lot of mentally ill liberals in Hollywood that really they're incredibly miserable people. Most people in Hollywood are. I'm under the impression anyway, at least comedians and stuff like that. And they I think that they sort of project that onto people through media. Hold on.
And when you say Hollywood, you mean Jewish, right?
I didn't.
We did not say Jew once.
I mean, there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood, but there's also a lot of Jews in lots of other things. But there's plenty of non-Jewish people that also
there's a lot of non-Jews in Hollywood.
There's a lot of Scientologists in there too.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
What's his name?
And that's not
the
good
redheaded
either.
guy, the redheaded comedian.
Ron
guy.
Howard?
No.
Louis C.K.
No, not Louis C.K. is Jewish. The
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh gosh, Bill Burr. There we go.
Oh, Bill Burr.
Bill
Yeah.
Burr does this the whole shtick about being miserable with your housewife. He's got his show F is for Family. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's a funny show.
But Bill Burr, I am under the impression Bill Burr is a very miserable person, and so that I don't think that he would be happy no matter what he was talking about. He just sort of makes fun of that because it's something that other people have some background in, and he can make jokes about it. In general, I don't think that people are that miserable with their suburban lives, and I think that it's not so healthy to have the idea that they ought to be miserable sort of forced down their throat.
Well, no, too. Another thing is, you mentioned some problems with Hollywood. Another problem, we've had these big leaks so far with big producers who are engaged in some really disgusting behavior. Like, there's a lot of sexual abuse going on in Hollywood. I don't think, they shouldn't be the people who are telling you how to live your life. They have a very different lifestyle. And I don't want to go and listen to these people who, like Kevin Spacey, they're engaging in pedophilia.
Yeah.
You had
that sounds like fun. That sounds like that sounds like their idea of fun. Why do you think that just because they're telling you that you should go sleep with multiple people and do drugs and do other things that are supposed to be pushing the boundaries of what you're allowed to do and edgy and cool, why should that be any more healthy or any more satisfying, gratifying to you as a person than being a father in a suburban life? Like, I don't see any immediate reason why those are better things to do than being what you consider a miserable suburban life.
Yeah, I'm gonna have him respond.
Well, I'm just gonna jump in, and first of all, sorry, the Jewish joke. I mean, that's just the classic Nixon. Whenever they said Hollywood, they meant Jewish back in the day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Second of all, what really I'm talking about here is what it's you guys are skirting around is that this view of morality is completely tied to this Judeo-Christian or just Christian, and not even like Anglican or anything. That very Protestant, very American version of morality that really ties us in, even Puritanism in some ways. So I don't see why one can be more corrective than the other, and why what that worldview has to recommend more than basically not living by that.
I can give you an answer
by ones that you learn throughout your life and stuff like that.
I
understand your critiques of Hollywood and the surface level life that it teaches us to like and teaches us teaches us that it's cool. I'm totally in agreement there. I think that it's a moral rot, but more from the terms that we idolize these people and like gods rather than like really go out and explore for ourselves. I mean, cucking isn't something that I don't think it's really cool. I don't think anyone's ever said it's cool in Hollywood. I don't think that's what.
Oh, you wait. They might start that.
What you guys are calling degeneracy, but maybe living in the same place as someone. And I've lived in the suburbs and I've seen a lot of loveless relationships. That's the type of degeneracy too, is it not?
Single mothers.
Yeah, I just would like to hear your thoughts on that. The type of degeneracy that comes out of
I can respond.
I would like way that some of us live.
This delay is killing me.
Yeah.
So what I would say, the difference between why that is degeneracy, or why what I'm talking about, like, I reject the whole idea of the suburban. It could be country living. Like, I don't, it doesn't have to be suburban. Personally, I really don't like the aesthetic of suburbia either. But the traditional family, like husband, wife, 3 kids and a dog, in a yard. That whole aesthetic, I think that is not degenerate, because the idea of degeneracy is something that is not capable of sustaining itself. It's not capable of perpetuating itself. And if you want anything that you care about to exist in the future, then you need sort of the basic foundations, and that is people being alive. And typically, I guess, I don't know, maybe you really care about like moss or something, and you want all the people on the earth to die because you want the moss to live, whatever. But in general, like usually things that you care about require people and stable people and stable governments and stable communities. And I think that I think you correctly identified as the Christian sort of the Western Christian understanding of morality and basic sort of social standards has been very, very consistent in continuing that kind of stable society, at least comparatively to lots of other places in the world where they don't have those ideas and they don't have that culture. And so I would say that no, it's not really degenerate. Even if what you're saying is true, that these are people that are miserable, they're still being productive. They are still raising children. They are still they're not getting diseases. They're not spreading diseases. They're not they're paying their bills. They are contributing to a tax base. They're in general committing less crimes. And leading to, I guess you could say, well, whatever crime is arbitrary, but they don't steal as much. They prop up basic institutions and basic foundations of things that are required to, perpetuate human existence. And so I think that is the opposite of degenerate. Even if you personally don't like it or you think you would be miserable in that circumstance, I don't think you can call it degenerate.
And to go off of what you were, Mr. Call, were saying earlier was that Mr. Call, that's his name right now. What you were saying earlier about like why do these Judeo-Christian values have to be the ones we follow by? And well, it simply is because some cultures are better than others. I know there's many people on the left that say, oh, all cultures are equal. That's not true. In Islam, Islamic cultures, you have wives getting beat. You have gays being thrown off of buildings. Women can't drive. That's not a good culture. That's not a culture I'd want to live in. And I'm saying this as a atheist. I'm saying this as an atheist. I'm not a Christian, okay? I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm a good old Christian. I'm going to defend Christianity because it's so great. No, but Christianity has put values and rules that our country can follow that are good and have produced good results. Thou shalt not kill. That's a pretty good one. Thou shalt not, rape someone. That's
not a commandment.
That's not a commandment. Well, it should be. But my point is the rules in
covet thy neighbor's wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Bible way of saying it. But my point is that in the Bible, in these Christian texts, they teach pretty good stuff, and I agree with that. And it's create a pretty good culture. And I'll let you respond.
And I agree with that.
You there, Colin?
It is. There's a delay.
Yeah. Well, okay. That was my friend earlier. I'm jumping in now just because. You mentioned you being a Christian, right? Well, I hail from a country that's not of Christian. Mm-hmm. All right. What about, in your views, doing these things is wrong. But say in Hinduism, killing an animal is wrong too, right? And the definition of morality, like my friend said earlier, varies from culture to culture, religion to religion, to belief to belief. How can you impose?
No, you completely misunderstood everything that I said. My definition
notions of what is right and wrong.
Well, and also I'm going to jump in, and what they're going to say here is like, well, look at how bad India is, and look at how great America is.
Well, yeah, kind of. But
like how do you?
Yeah, but like how? Well,
pretty bad.
Why
it is?
I don't know if it's bad because they don't kill
animals right now. Do you ever think of that? Well, maybe part of it is because we were colonized by a country.
Right. So why didn't you colonize us?
200 years, mind you, where Indians produced and contributed to the UK's development.
Geez.
Right? When you have oppression that's stemming from so far back, right? You can't really make comparisons.
It's funny how productive all these places are, and yet none of them ever did anything.
You can't determine which morals are
you ever hear of Poland
or which country is right or wrong.
That varies, countries.
But yeah, whatever. You can respond.
Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, the standard that I was like, yes, you pointed out. I think that the morality that has resulted from like Western Christianity has been more successful at creating at least powerful and self-propagating societies. And yes, they certainly took advantage of and made their way across the world and employed yes, at times against their will, the native populations and the resources of these places. But like, I don't think that you can really, make the statement that makes their, like that doesn't allow you to determine that the culture is better, or the system of social behavior, the standard of social behavior is better or worse in any of these places, simply because, like, okay, if there are all these great resources in India that helped the United Kingdom grow to its heights of power, then why weren't they being used by the native inhabitants before the Europeans got there? And same with every other place on the planet, Africa, the Americas, it's. The simple fact is, like, without the standards and the societal constructs that came with the Western world, that nobody could have used these resources, except with the exception of a few places, I guess, in China, and like very, very limited places. I guess you could look at like the Aztecs and stuff, but like it's completely undeniable, just based on the simple fact that Europeans kind of conquered everywhere, that their civilization was at the very least more powerful. You could you could make the caveat that, oh, it wasn't better because they weren't tolerant enough or whatever, but they were more powerful than every other civilization and society that existed on the planet. So I by my standard of simply self-propagation, yes, I think you can objectively say that the Western morality and Western system of social.
Here's the big problem with what you're saying. You seem to claim that this society is self-propagating, right? Right at this
still
instant,
around, isn't it?
You're telling me that the U.S. is self-propagating, but only 20 minutes ago you guys were going on about how migrants are ruining your country, right?
We didn't say this country, we're saying Europe.
That self-propagation also comes.
Well, yeah, but that's why I think
a lot of those migrant workers. Since we're on the topic of
Europe?
India, right? I don't think you'd be aware of this, but do you know that the
3% of them that have
average
jobs?
Indian in the U.S. earns $110,000? We're the highest earning demographic in this country, and it's because we contribute to this country's propagation,
yeah,
right?
Enslaved by H-2B
and
visas.
Same self-propagation, right?
H-1B? Never mind, sorry.
Not so much self-propagation, again, because most of what is consumed in the United States, right, is produced elsewhere. It's not produced in the United States. This country survives because it relies on the cheaper resources in
I understand
those
that, like,
other
a service
countries.
is a valid thing to be exchanged in the economy, right?
Because of those many hundreds of years of oppression that those countries went through.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like, I don't know if you
just
can't
wanna say,
abstract
the
to like
version of
things that are of value
modernity
other
and
than
progress
material
that you're
wealth,
dancing
but
is flawed, because when you're talking about I know what you're doing when you're condescending to nations about saying, oh, they didn't take advantage of their own natural resources. That's because it was pre-industrialization across the world.
So why didn't they industrialize?
And we see progress in the way that Europe defines progress. We see the way, like, we measure it in ways
God.
that.
How are you measuring progress?
Exactly. Like, I'm just going to build on
Probably
that because,
with,
like, in the U.S., people obsess, economists particularly obsess on the notion of GDP, but
I didn't obsess on
GDP
the
in
notion of
itself
GDP.
as a measure of growth is so flawed in it doesn't take into account anything like any actual terms of, say, human development or satisfaction.
Oh, I
or
agree.
There's an HDI too.
degradation. You have countries like Bhutan, right, which
very much
measure their development using the GNH, which is gross national happiness.
How can you measure happiness?
Hold on.
That they use to do that. So all these comparisons, I mean,
you're right. If I cared about the GDP, then I would want unlimited immigration. I would want every single person that is not currently inside the U.S. border to be inside the U.S. border.
I'm pretty sure they turn off the radio when they talk to us.
Development.
Okay.
Okay.
If
first.
I really cared about just the GDP, if I cared about nothing else but the GDP, then you're right. I would want every single human being on the planet to be within the U.S. border, so they could whatever they're doing, whether they're making mud cookies and filling their stomach with them because they can't find any food because too many guilty white people dumped free food on them and all their farming industry went through the floor. It doesn't matter. Whatever they're making, that counts towards my GDP. You're right. I would want that. I would want that if all I cared about is my GDP. But I don't. I care about the continuance, the ability for a society to maintain a healthy, future existence. And you're right. Yes, there are problems with the immigrants coming into Europe very specifically. But if you wanted to talk about the United States, it's a little bit more nuanced because there's different places and different cultures that are coming here. But specifically Europe, those people are not contributing to the GDP. They might be contributing marginally, but they are the GDP per capita, the quality of life, just all those things that you're talking about, the happiness, that is not going up in Europe from that migration. That is certainly going down. I don't know. It may be better for the migrants, but it's not what is being consumed, what is being taken advantage of. It was not theirs to take advantage of.
GDP per person. It's not a different measure. But
GDP per capita and GDP, yes, those are different measures.
But here's the. No, they're not. GDP
Yes, they
per
are.
Capita is just GDP per person. So it's GDP divided by the population of the country.
But yes, if you put more people. But did you not pay attention to what I'm saying? If you put more people in a place, they're going to do more stuff.
So we're we know about what we're talking about when we talk about this.
They're too big brained.
I think we do too.
You watch a lot of Rick and Morty?
Okay. Okay, but here, you're talking about we're not showing progression or development with GDP. Now, what are you then defining as progress in a country? Because if you look at the United States,
gross national happiness. He said
Okay.
that.
Get them on heroin. That'll make them very happy.
But look at the comparison here. If you look at Europe and you look at America, we have big sprawling cities. We have big companies like Apple. We have big companies that are producing products. You don't see this coming out of other countries.
A valid measure of a country's growth, you'd have to look into what they call green accounting, right?
Oh, green accounting. That was some more environmentalist propaganda.
Why is green accounting? You have to look into that.
None of this matters. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ability for society to sustain itself, not the ability to create pieces of paper that are supposed to have value.
No. Let me elaborate on what you just called environmentalist propaganda.
I didn't say crap about that. I don't care what your green accounting is. I'm talking about the ability of a society to continue into the future. Have babies that are capable of not killing each other.
And India, say, produces, or China produces, right? The production, where the production takes place,
materialistic
right?
nonsense.
Those are the places that take a hit environmentally, right?
I don't care if they take a hit environmentally. They're not in the United States. I bet Zimbabwe has a very high green economy.
But yeah, those are the places that actually bear the brunt of what is actually happening. That is, poor air quality, poor.
That's because they're the ones doing it too.
All these things, those are the countries that are producing what the United States is consuming. Now, in the U.S.'s GDP or economic growth, right, environmental degradation, right, isn't accounted for. It's at all, right? Be it water quality or air quality in the U.S.
You're responding to something that to a claim nobody made.
In, the rest of the world.
Strawman.
I don't care. I don't. Yes, you know what? You're right. I think that probably more things should be produced inside the United States. I'm not a fan of outsourcing.
That's what we want.
Yes, I don't like relying on foreign populations for the production that the United States consumes. I think that you'd probably get paid for it, and I think that you'd probably be worse off if you didn't have it, to be perfectly honest. But regardless, I still want it to be done in the United States.
Cannot sustain itself by just producing.
Well, no, we can't sustain the whole world on our level. No, but we can. We are sustaining ourselves. And yeah, if you want to bring the dead into it, I'm no fan of that either.
You cannot sustain yourself. Can you please? I would urge you to become more conscious of your own existence. The car you drive. I don't know what car you drive, but I'm just like
Subaru.
Speaking generally, the car you drive, the food you eat.
Oh, I have a big diesel truck like just going roll coal everywhere.
Most of them are not produced in the United States.
Yes,
most
my
of them
car was
are
not produced in the
imported.
United States.
And it's not.
It's called
just
trade.
Because the outsourcing is cheaper. It's also because part of it is because the United States doesn't have the resources to produce some of those things.
Oh no, we do.
We do
have
have
a bunch
the
of-
resources.
We have a bunch of green idiots that won't let us do it.
Yeah, the United States has probably one of the most abundant resources in the world. This nation,
You have
and
the
we can also
resources to
import a lot of
produce
it.
Things that you cannot find here.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can import it. Like-
I reject the frame that because nobody we've allowed you to drag us into the materialistic frame. I never put forward a materialistic. Quiet, everybody else, quiet. I never put forward a materialistic frame. I only put forward
Wait, the
a
car's
human
talking.
frame. I only put forward a set of circumstances where people need to continue to produce people that can uphold basic standards of civilization. I didn't talk about food. I didn't talk about cars. I wasn't talking about GDP. You brought all of these up. You've assumed that these are things that I care about, and that is never something I said. I care about people producing people, like civilizations perpetuating themselves.
Basic standards of civilization.
What?
Can you repeat that, please? Sorry.
All I heard was basic
So
standards
here's
of
the thing,
civilization.
right? You're telling me that migrants cannot hold basic standards of civilization.
That wasn't what we were talking about.
That
We were
was
talking about
not anybody's
cuckoldry.
claim.
Statements, right? You're saying they. Well, then how do you explain me? I consider myself a civilized person.
That's not what
Well,
I.
yeah,
like,
but
what
that's
did
not
I
our
say that they
argument.
couldn't? I was talking
Yeah.
about. I was responding originally to the point about like social degeneracy and cuckoldry, where your friend was talking about like going out and having a good time and sleeping with people and doing drugs. Well, I don't know if he said doing drugs, but whatever. That was implied, I guess. These are the things that do not create healthy people, and like yes, I'm sure that there are plenty of immigrants that come to this country that are perfectly capable of participating in the kind of society that I want, but that's not what I was talking about originally. I was talking about economics when we started talking about immigrants.
That doesn't adhere to your definition of morality.
Well, it's
it
more
doesn't
relative.
make them
And we're back on the exact same thing we started with. I'm sorry.
This
Thank
is
you for calling.
more-
in.
more relativist crap.
We gotta close.
We
this up.
only have a few minutes left. I'm gonna put a quick comment, and Carl, you can have the very last quick minute. Now I'm gonna give him the last word. But no, we weren't. To be very clear, we weren't making the claim that no migrants can sustain their countries or can come here and sustain us. There are very great people that come everywhere that can help us. You obviously are a great example of somebody that's come over here and that's producing. I assume. I'm assuming that he has a job and he works hard and he's listening to this show. So I just assume he just come home from work or something. I don't know. I assume.
off tangent.
That,
It's nothing but cuckoldry.
Hold on. This is very tinge from cuckoldry. But I want to say is that we're not making those claims. But the problem we were talking about in a very small point was that when most of these migrants come over, they're going into camps. They're not really producing to these societies.
No, but guys,
I'm gonna give you the last word. Then we got end.
You to go beyond whatever perceptions that you grew up with. For real.
I didn't grow up with these perceptions at all. I came to them in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I'm the same
I was a
boat.
perfectly brainwashed, like liberal, left libertarian for my entire life.
Okay.
Have a go.
When you talk about a future protecting one, you have to talk about what future you're protecting and for whom and for what reason. It's not. You came dangerously close to espousing the 14 points.
Quiet. 14 words. Get it right.
And who you're protecting.
Dude, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. We were not talking about that by any extent. This has nothing to do with race.
Apparently,
This
not
has
the point. Cuckoldry is white supremacy.
yeah. Denouncing cuckoldry,
I rest my case.
Denouncing cuckoldry, which
Is white
allows your
supremacist.
wife.
Everything is white supremacy.
Apparently, it's racist to begin.
Denouncing
Shut up.
cuckoldry, but by denouncing this idea that your wife should be allowed to cheat on you and you watch it has nothing to do with race. Nothing we talk about has to do with race. We have not mentioned race. You have brought it in. Last word and we gotta go.
No.
In your Jordan B. Peterson voice.
Jordan B. Peterson. Wait,
Okay.
I'm a fan of. I got
I
his book.
mean, it's kind of. You just got to think about what you're actually doing there.
What about JBP?
We can't get into that. I'm sorry. We're really running
Call
out
in
of
next
time.
week, same time.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you so much for calling in. I know there's a little confusion. This delay's been annoying. I'll try to fix that. But thank you for calling in. You can call in next week if you want. We'll be on the same time. Real News will be back. Thank you, sir.
Go to www.thestatepatriot.com.
Crap.
What was that?
Is it every week like 7 o'clock or something?
Every week at 7.
Every Saturday.
We have a
Every
website.
Saturday.
We have a website, www.thestatepatriot.com.
Not www. It's thestatepatriot.com.
Okay, doesn't make a difference.
Okay,
Whatever.
yeah, gladly.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Bye.
Well, that was interesting. I'm glad we actually got a caller. You know, people
Yeah,
actually
we
listen
have to roll out, but play a song that, I don't know, just came up. We'll see you guys later. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more Real News.